Hey, what's up everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so had a pretty good morning. Didn't have too much going on. Did a couple pieces of art, maybe 2 pieces before I left the house. Did my regular routine, nothing special. Just getting out. It's about noon and we got a nice gloomy day. Something we ain't seen in a while. Pretty damn gloom. It's only gonna be about 73 the high, I think is what it just said. So I'm very thankful that it's cool, you know what I mean? That's really what it's about. After going through that heat wave, I don't wish to see heat anymore. I do know it's gonna go back up to about 90 a few days from now, and even that is significantly less than what we were used to for a little bit. So even that I won't really complain about. Yeah, man, I didn't really have a whole lot going on. I talked so much yesterday about various different things. Spoke on the Diddy thing. Spoke on what was going on in Lebanon, and I want to correct a few mistakes that I made. I misspeak all the time, so it ain't nothing new, but I noticed a couple mistakes. One, in a basketball video I made, I said that the player that I couldn't think of played for the Congolese team. That's not true. He played for the Sudanese team. I got that wrong. And yesterday I said, in regards to a video I was making, I was referring to the Constitution, and I said the Declaration of Independence. I don't know why I put those two things together, but that is what it was. So I just wanted to correct those two things. So yeah, man, not much else to the day other than me just getting out. I don't have any real plans right now, as usual. Just getting a little exercise. I'm not sure if I'll do the Hollywood thing or maybe go downtown. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I definitely felt like getting some fresh air and some exercise. Felt a little tired, but more muscle soreness than anything else. I got plenty of sleep last night. Dreams were what they were. It was a lot of dreams, but nothing that was worth talking about. So, this is just one of them regular days, I guess. Thursday, nothing to it. Yesterday was really cool because, as I told you guys, I was trying to plot my whole day around being able to have my phone charged at 4 o'clock, and it was really wild because I had a basketball team to draft, and I set my alarm for 4 o'clock, but for whatever reason the thing didn't go off. So I was at the house for an hour before the draft even started. I did my exercise and I turned on one of the videos that I made yesterday, listened to the whole thing in its entirety, and I was waiting for the alarm to go off. I figured the video would take me right up to the point where the draft would start. And so I'm doing my exercise, I'm listening to the video with my headphones on, doing my squat regimen, and the entire video completes, and after it was done, it was like 4:08. And I'm like, what the hell? So I'm thinking I probably got auto-picked my first 2 picks or whatever, maybe my first pick was probably taken. And you don't really care too much about that because no matter what, you're getting an elite player at the beginning of the draft. But it was one of those situations where as I was turning on the app to do the draft, that was the exact moment when I was on the clock for my first pick. And I thought that was really strange because it was 10 minutes into the start of the draft, but I just so happened to have, what was it, like the 10th pick? And nobody was on auto draft in the first round. If you know about drafts, usually if people aren't in the room, they'll go through the entire first round with the entire clock being run, and then when they realize you're not in the room, you get about 6 seconds and it goes to auto draft. So it was one of those situations where, because the first round was, the clock went out through its entirety, I was able to get 10 minutes leeway, which was the exact 10 minutes that I needed to realize that I was late and to realize my alarm didn't go off, to complete my video in its entirety and listening to it. And that's when I turned on the app. I turned it on. It said you were on the clock at the exact moment. Now, mind you, not only was I on the clock, but the clock had begun as I was turning on the app. Meaning that the last pick had just finished at the simultaneous moment that I was turning on the app and entering the draft room. So that's the timing I was on yesterday. And all the stuff I wanted to do, and I had the alarm set and it didn't go off, but at the same time, I was still on the timing that was perfect for what I wanted to do. So I just thought that was a really cool little blessing that came my way. It don't matter to nobody but me. it's not a money draft or anything. It's not a league where I'm gonna be making any money for winning it or anything. It's just something I wanted to do, and for it to have worked out with that perfect of a timing attached to it, I thought was a real treat from up above. So I was very, very happy about that. Very thankful. Did a few pieces last night of art as well after I finished my draft. Ate and did everything, shower and all that good stuff. Still enduring the shower, which isn't ideal because of course I told you about that. It's not simple as turning on good temperature water and then just sitting there, standing there rather, and doing what you got to do. It's a real task. So I'm kind of going through it with that, but I'm not really complaining too much. You just adapt, you know. And knowing that it ain't gonna be forever, you just got to go through it for another week and a half, and then we will switch rooms. So I take the good with the bad. Like I said, the bed is fantastic, so I just take the good with the bad and live with it. Showers are getting done, you know, one way or another. I'm clean enough, putting soap on the body like I normally would, so it's not like I'm not able to shower, but it is an adjustment, and it ain't what I prefer. It ain't what I'm used to. It ain't what anybody is used to. So that's really what it is, man. Just taking the good with the bad. And you know, I haven't seen but one roach since I've been in that room, so that's a real plus, because the last couple of rooms I've had have experienced some pest issues there. So I've been very blessed to not have to deal with that this 3-week period. So good with the bad. You know, no complaints, man. But at the end of the day, man, I'm just thankful to be able to do what I'm doing. Still stomping around trying to make some sense of what I'm seeing in Gaza and all of these different things, which is damn near impossible. There's no sense to be made of that situation. The Diddy situation, as we talked about yesterday, they're denying him bail. No surprise there. Some audio has been released. It may not be real, may be real, of him allegedly engaged in some type of act with Meek Mill. From what I understand, that's old audio. It was no footage, it was audio. From what I understand, it's old, and I guess it's resurfaced because of the situation now. I don't know, man. And of course, you got people coming out with all types of footage saying that they got stuff that they don't have. Essentially, now everybody wants to say they have footage of freak-offs, him hosting freak-offs. So like, no, you don't. That footage is not out there. It's just a lot of cap going on out there, man. A lot of cap in regards to Diddy's name, you know. And you don't know what to believe and what not to believe, so you just wait for the official findings. If you're interested in that sort of thing, which, to be honest with you, I'm not, man. I'm not interested. I did find it funny for some reason. My sense of humor, I thought that the audio was kind of funny with him and alleged Meek Mill. It did sound like him, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's this man's downfall. You know what I mean? He could not control himself in an environment where it's not, like I said yesterday, set up for you to really be able to just thrive as a sex freak, billionaire black person. That's not a combination that really works in America, man. It don't work, and that's what he's finding out. Like, I don't know if he would do things differently or not, but I can tell you it's been said that he's going through withdrawals based on his drugs or whatever, his addiction, and not being able to get access to what he's on. It's like, you know, everybody gets their comeuppance, man. At the end of the day, if you deserve something, don't think you're getting away with it just because you haven't gone through it yet. I'm sure he thought he was getting away with stuff for a long time, man, and eventually it came around, bit him in the backside just like it does everybody else, man. It doesn't work. We can live our lives as if we can't face the consequences of our behavior, but that day is going to fold on the calendar when we do, and it is going to be very real to you. Not only the consequences of your actions, but that you were always on that path. And that's what I say to everybody. Anybody and everybody. You are on the path where what it is that you think can't happen to you may very well happen to you, especially if you deserve it. You know, a lot of people thinking they're getting away with treating people poorly, or I'm exposed this person, thinking you ain't gonna be exposed or have to go through something that that comes with that? You may. Very few of us, although it does happen, very few of us get to go to our grave without paying for our sins on the earth. You know what I mean? Having certain things that you did be exposed on earth. A lot of y'all say, well, I deal with it when I get to hell. You may have to deal with it before it comes to that. And that's what I say to a lot of people, man. That's what I say to anybody who's listening. A lot of y'all treating people poorly, running around like you're on cloud nine, like nothing can happen to you. I don't see no difference between you and Diddy other than the fact that your day ain't came around yet. That's it. That's the difference. Your day hasn't come around yet. You get to live in this space for a little while longer before it comes crashing down on you. But it will, unless you change. Even if you do change, it don't necessarily mean you won't be held accountable for what you've already done, but at least you won't compound it with any more of what you would otherwise deserve. And I think that matters. So, you know what I mean? Straighten up, people. I think what we're learning from many individuals who've been caught up in situations is that it could happen to us. Many individuals who took things for granted is that it could happen to you. You just gotta learn from some of these mistakes, man. Learn from some of these people who felt like they couldn't be touched so that they were above everything else that's around them. Nah, you ain't above nothing, man. It could happen. You doing around treating people a certain way, you can be exposed. Going around extorting people, it could come back and bite you bad. You know what I'm saying? And this is just another example of that. It ain't nothing new. It's just more evidence continues to pile in that direction so that we understand it. And you may pay for what you did. You know, and so that's what I want to say, man. It's a lot of people going around acting like they can't pay for nothing that they do. Like what they do don't have no consequences for them. Like their plans just automatically gonna work out because they got it schemed a certain way. Many a person thought that. Many a person walked around with their chest poked out like it can't get caved in. It can happen. So learn from that is what I would suggest. But yeah, man, that's really what I'm thinking about. Still paying attention to what's going on. I think another mistake that I may have made, if I didn't already correct that, I don't know if I said the wrong thing or not, but the situation where the devices were, exploded, however the word would be, detonated, that took place in Lebanon. Lebanon was the country where that took place. I wanted to correct that as well if I made that mistake. I don't remember if I said the right thing or not, but a part of me thinks I probably said Yemen or something like that. So no, it didn't happen there. Lebanon was where this took place. It's been, from what I understand, 2 different sets of detonations. It might have been a third as well. Where they detonating first pagers, then walkie-talkies. I think some cell phones were also detonating, from what I understand. It was the lithium batteries in the devices that ultimately were rigged to explode. Not necessarily the devices themselves, but the batteries within them. And so that's what I come to understand. A little girl lost her life in the situation, the first wave of explosions. Many people lost digits and have holes in them and are trying to recover from that. Thousands of people were hurt in this situation, man. A lot of these circumstances took place while people were driving. You know what I mean? Some of this stuff happened. I saw footage of a guy who was in a grocery store, when this happened. A couple people, you saw footage of guys who were in a fix-it shop where they were working on electronics, and one of them exploded, due to the bank. Like, this is happening at random when they do it. They can't control where the device is, nor do they look to control such things. They are interested in just exploding these things no matter who's holding them, no matter what's going on around those people, no matter who's walking near them. They're randomly killing indiscriminately without any concern of who gets hit in this situation, for the sake of trying to instill fear in the entire world that they should be adhered to. And I'm telling you, that's really not what comes of doing this. People don't fear you any more than they otherwise would fear anybody else who's a maniac. They feel the need to exterminate you and support that for which would be your end because you are a threat to them. I don't know what psychology Israel thinks they are engaging in regards to trying to make all of us fearful. But the only thing they're accomplishing is making it so that everybody becomes more passionate about sanctioning them and anything that otherwise holds them accountable. I don't know that the fear factor is necessarily working. From what I understand, some information was leaked on Israel trying to use the American government to come down on the South African government for trying to more or less hold them accountable in their courts. You can try. I don't think that South Africa is going to be moved by that. This is the same country that survived apartheid, so they take it kind of personal when they see that behavior applied to somebody else. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they've already seen liberation from that type of evil. They're not afraid of it when they see a duplicate of it in another different way. If anything, they feel intentional on stopping it. So it's like, good luck on trying to squeeze them. They have a personal vendetta against this type of spirit of energy, you know? So I just think that Israel's engaging in a lot of unwise demonstrations, very unwise demonstrations. And just like Diddy, they feel like they can't be touched. And when that day come around, there's going to be a lot of people who don't care, because at the end of the day, they've done everything they can to make us feel like they are a threat to all of us, not just a few. And what they're not taking into account is, as it pertains to the Western world, once the Western world, the average Western mind starts thinking you're a threat to them and their family, that's when they really start caring. They don't really care if you're doing it to somebody far away. You know what I mean? That's the average mind here. That's how we've been raised to think that everything's custom for us. We're raised to believe that everything's about us. We have a say-so in everything. We have freedom and democracy and all these different things. So it's like, you know, when you threaten that for which is our bubble, our comfortable bubble, that's when we start becoming more intentional on protecting that bubble, and whatever threatens it needs to go. So I think that Israel is making it hard on themselves even more so by insinuating, by way of this demonstration, that more than just the Palestinians and those who want to stop the genocide are to be concerned with their safety in regards to Israel's intentions. I think that's a huge mistake, man. I think that's a huge mistake, because you're telling some very selfish people that they need to fear you, and that you could have potentially messed with their happiness and their peace. And that creates a certain level of resistance that you haven't seen yet. When the Western mind, when the American mind thinks that you're going to stop them from being able to do whatever it is they do in their daily life, you can threaten everybody else. Some of them will care. Some of us are showing you we care. But the great majority of us, that's not how we're wired. That's not how we've been propagandized, if that's a way of putting it, into behaving throughout the course of our lives. We care when it affects us. It becomes personal when you start thinking that you're going to do something to our bubble, in the group of things that we care about, our family, our friends. And it's like, oh my God, no, we got to stop this. You think you about to mess with you going to keep the Super Bowl from happening next year? Hell no. You can do whatever you want on the other side of the world while the Super Bowl's going on. I'm still going to have my beer. I'm still going to have my wings. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want over there to those people, because, like I said, we're not trained to give a crap about them. We're trained to give a crap about us. We are receivers, takers, consumers, workers who believe we've earned the right to enjoy our lives regardless of what's going on outside of our bubbles. That's how we were wired. That's what capitalism has done to our brains over time. So it's like, you're not going to have too many problems with people in this area, not on the majority scale, until you start threatening that bubble. And you're not going to find too many Western people that don't have a device. So if you're telling me have the capability of making it so that those devices explode in their hands from where you're at, then they're gonna be like, well, okay, well, I'm not safe. I gotta neutralize that threat. I gotta use every bit of my freedoms to protect those freedoms. You know what I mean? And as something was said online today that made a lot of sense. Although we have street wars and violence is taking place here, we really don't know war on our homeland. Not in this generation. We've had civil wars and stuff like that. The South going up against the North and all different types of stuff like that. That's cool. Yeah, that's happened to our great-great-grandparents. We don't know nothing about that. If it don't have something to do with the stuff that's going on in our neighborhoods, then we can't relate. We don't know of terrorist attacks or stuff like that, with the exception of 9/11 and maybe what took place in Oklahoma, for which a lot of people who are alive today don't even remember. Stuff happened in the 90s and stuff. Like, we don't know that. We don't know that world. We know it happens to other countries. We've seen France go through that process. We've seen other countries go through that process. But us? Nah, we don't know no war. We don't know bombs bursting in the air and pulling our kids out from under rubble and, you know what I'm saying, walking down the street with white bags holding our children. We don't know nothing about all that. And that's not the world we're from. That's not something that seems possible in our lives. If, we have decency about how we're able to bury our dead. If we happen to lose somebody, we get a whole ceremony, put them in the ground, put them in places, spend like $15,000 to make sure they have a wonderful burial ceremony. Like, it's a lot of stuff that we're entitled to that we think are just going to be. And if we were to actually experience what it is that others are going through in other places where these liberties are not found, then it's like, where's the humanity? Now, we only care about the humanity so long as it doesn't affect ours. It's like we care about our own. And we're good people because we care about the people next to us that we happen to love or what have you. But as it pertains to people we don't know in places we cannot see, going through things we cannot relate to, we're not wired to care. So if you want to bring that to us, then we're going to understand what that's about. And I don't want it to be done because obviously no one wants to go through those things. But as I often use the analogy, we're fat and happy when it comes to that type of trauma. We don't know nothing about that. We don't know nothing about that. And a lot of people are in a world in their minds where, because they don't know about it and they can't relate to it, they don't care, or they can't fathom it, or they don't have a respect for anybody who's screaming out against their liberties being taken from them. It's like, well, that's your problem, I'm still watching the Super Bowl next year on January. I'm going to be watching, like, that kind of thing. So I think that a lot of those barriers of sensitivity are going to be brought down by the realities of what our government is waging in regards to their actions toward allowing a foreign government to control our circumstances. Everything we have going on is controlled by that foreign government. And that is very, very unfortunate for all of us who live in these bubbles. And something else that needs to be understood, how compromisable the notion of what a Israel actually can be. A bunch of people from all over the world who come together in agreements of religion to expand land that they are not actually from, standing on the lie that they were entitled to it initially based on that religion, and then furthermore willing to do horrible things to expand the land. Who's going to start realizing that is easily, if not inevitably, infiltratable? Now, you're talking about nomads from literally everywhere coming together to a random spot in the Middle East and then claiming to be aligned with one another. Don't y'all see how anybody can step into that situation, say they're a part of that group, and really have their own intentions? Literally anybody can come in and say, yo, I'm Israeli now. And let's come together to kill off all the Palestinians to expand the land. Do y'all not have any idea how corruptible that process could potentially be? Like, that's something I think is really, really important to state. And I haven't heard too many people say that. because the whole process is corrupt in and of itself. But assuming you're on that side of the fence and you really are trying to come together to do this, do you have any idea how little trust you should actually have for the person next to you as it pertains to that circumstance? Like, does it occur to you how many people can come around and say they're a part of what you are doing, who really don't care nothing for what you're doing? Just have their own intentions to infiltrate and furthermore, maybe even damage your intentions? Or take over the land themselves? Like, I just think that the presence of that arrogance that this faction of people and their government engage in leaves them open for so many different things that they otherwise truly deserve in terms of the destruction that ultimately should be coming their way for what it is they've engaged in. The sheer process of being a people without a land, claiming a land, and then being willing to kill children to keep it, and have turned morality on its axis to the point where they're willing to champion R words and essays and all these type of things just so that they can have solidarity in protection of one another in regards to this process. That they don't realize how corruptible that is mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing to me. But the nature of evil in and of itself will never cover its backside. We've talked about this many times in many different ways. And that is an angle that I don't think too many people are paying any attention to. Their government comes from all over the world, various different countries in Europe, various different parts of the Middle East come together to claim to be Israeli. Like, nobody has roots to the land. Nobody has roots to one another. Just an agreement in religion that is based on destruction of anybody that otherwise doesn't agree with it. So all I gotta do is agree with you and throw away my moral compass entirely to infiltrate your process. Follow what it is you're doing, get close enough to you, and then boom, whatever the hell I choose. Literally. Like, at some point in time, we got to look around and say, this thing is going to implode from the inside out just from the sheer nature of what it is that they're doing. They're doing all the worst stuff that would otherwise make it so that nobody, including each other, should trust one another. It's the same thing I say about street gangs. Like, why would you think anybody doing bad on the streets who have no moral compass are going to show any sort of loyalty to the person next to them doing the bad that they're doing? Y'all spend your whole lives in these processes doing things that are not good. And you think when it's time for somebody to be held accountable for that behavior, they're going to keep their mouth shut about you who did it with them? Like, the likelihood that you even find loyalty in that environment, in that process, seems very, very small to me. And that they expect it in so many different cases is amazing to me. Like, I can't believe he told. Like, that dude shot somebody in the head last week in front of you. How are you surprised that he gave you away when it was time for him to do life or take the death penalty for that thing he did? He shot the other guy. What's it to him to tell the police that you did something that you may or may not have done to get himself out of trouble? He's a murderer. But because their moral compass in these environments are so upside down, they trick themselves into believing the lie that they can actually believe in the people next to them who are doing the wrongdoing, and furthermore supposed to take their word for something as if they stand on anything positive in the first damn place. Like, the presence of evil will cloud your mind, warp and brainwash you from the inside out. You ain't doing nothing but bad, and you think you're gonna find some loyalty? You ain't doing nothing but turning on people, and you think people are gonna be loyal to you? Make it make some sense. But as I said, in regards to the process of being able to engage in that type of behavior in the first place, it requires a mind having a lot wrong with it to begin with, to even choose some of the things that go along with these processes. You got to be able to look at things the wrong way from jump before you even make those decisions in order to convince yourself to go through with those paths. And this is no different. You ain't gonna find no loyalty, no love in a place that is meant to take advantage, destroy, isolate, unlawfully, law is a different way of putting it, but unrighteously charge people. However you go about your wicked ways. You're not going to find no loyalty amongst those who agree with you. Because the sheer nature of what it is they engage in proves to you that they don't have any loyalty. Loyalty is attached to a certain moral compass that is unselfish in nature. That they would be willing to do the things that they do next to you tells you that they are not that. It proves it to you. You're all a bunch of bad guys. Who the hell has any loyalty or morals amongst you? Well, you got maybe certain lines that you won't cross, but how can I trust? How should you trust? And how should the person next to you trust that y'all won't cross them damn lines? Since you're already crossing so many moral lines to begin with. There's no standards in these streets when it comes to that type of stuff. There's nothing that they won't be willing to do or be willing to lie about, including the standards from which they say they wouldn't cross. They'll lie about that too. So in the presence of an arena where evil's being done, looking for loyalty is a lost cause, friends. Don't exist. Even in the presence of being proven that it can exist, it will betray you, because the essence of what it is you do is betrayal, whether you know it or not. The essence of the evil you engage in and the wrongdoing that you engage in is betrayal. That's what it is. You're betraying the one who created you because he wants you to be on the up and up, and you refuse. And if you will betray God, you'll betray anyone. And potentially everyone. In the cause of Israel, there's no difference. They stand on a lie and entitlement and selfishness and deep depravity, paranoia. If you think you're going to find loyalty to the next to you in the form of the human being that is engaging in that same behavior, and they don't mind killing children on your behalf, on their own behalf, believe me, killing you is not the worst thing they've ever done. Turning on you is not the worst thing they've ever done. Betraying you and your state is not the worst thing they've ever done. When they're lobbying for the destruction of children and the raping of innocent people. So to my Zionist followers and Israeli followers, do understand, you can't trust the person next to you. You can't trust your fellow Israeli. I'm sorry, you can't. I don't care how many times you think you've been able to. The sheer nature of what it is y'all support is betrayal. The sheer motivation behind what you're doing is wrong. That you don't see it that way does not negate the truth about it. That you've been able to convince a many person around that what you're doing should be allowed does not negate from the truth of what it is that you're doing. That truth is your compass, which is why being in denial about the truth or trying to suppress the truth is a dangerous cause for all parties around. Because you can convince everybody around that what you're doing is not wrong. And if you start to believe your very own lies, then it's you the one that has to follow what comes with ignoring the wisdom that comes with the truth that you deny. I liken it to an analogy of being somebody that doesn't believe in STDs. Doesn't believe in STDs. That you believe in it or not believe in it does not change the fact that if you go around having unprotected sex with every single person, eventually you're going to catch one. You can live in denial about that, but your mind cannot will that for which is a virus from entering your body when you're doing things that otherwise expose yourself to that virus. Your acceptance isn't needed in the situation. Your adherence to the truth is wise, but it's not required. It ain't required. That virus is moving one way or another. And so goes the same with doing certain things and ignoring the wisdom that comes with it because you're in denial about what it is you're truly doing. But what we're doing is righteous. Yeah, but the consequences of it are going to prove otherwise, and they will hurt as otherwise would. So that you want to deny that what you're doing is as it is only hurts you in the end, because you're going to be caught off guard by what comes with the behavior you've engaged in, as you've been in denial about what that behavior actually is. And that's what I would tell the American government, Israeli government, and all the Zionist entities around the world. Your denial does not negate the consequences of the behavior you engage in. That you have learned to do mental gymnastics around what it is that you do does not negate the consequences of the math that you engage in. If you add something to something else, you now have two somethings. You can't change that by saying, no, I don't. Or moving things around the board to make it look like it's something that it's not. It's still what it is. Your acceptance is not required in the situation. So that you run around saying we deserve the land, we own the, God gave us the land, and all these different things that you've convinced yourself, and if we have a right to defend ourselves, and in defending ourselves we do aggressive things against others to prevent them from ever thinking they should ever have the gall to do those things, it doesn't change away from the fact that you are the aggressor. And that the reality is they need to protect themselves against your terroristic behavior. You can change the definition of terrorism. You can convince yourself this is moral as you do it. You can shine a light on the propaganda that would otherwise influence the stupid. You can do many things that would ultimately gather support for your evil actions. It doesn't change the fact that the consequences of your actions will prove that they were evil. That you will not, in fact, do what it is you're supposed to receive. In your minds, because you were never supposed to receive it in the first place. If the land was yours, the sun wouldn't burn you in such a way that gives you cancer. If you're supposed to be there, if you're indigenous to the land, why does the environment itself destroy you? Without the implementation of anyone doing anything, the sun itself, as you stand on that land, gives you cancer. So how in the hell can you convince yourself that you're better for being there in the first damn place, if not for a self-destructive intention that you have upon your own damn self? We're trying to steal land in a place that we can't inhabit without becoming sick. How does that make any sense that we deserve it? What you're essentially saying is you deserve to fry and die of skin cancer. That's what you're actually saying. When you break down the nitty-gritty of it all, you can't even inhabit the land. Your compliance is not required. And so that's what I'm telling people. Like, look, being in denial doesn't help you at all. It's not doing anything. That's a mental space. You have to adhere to the realities of your circumstances, whether you choose to consciously or not. Those consequences still fall upon you. There's nothing you can do. You can't mental gymnastic word scrabble your way around consequences. You can't word scrabble your way around circumstances that otherwise prove what it is that you're engaging in is what it should not be for your betterment. So that's really what I'm saying to all of y'all, man. We got to come around to understanding these things. That you need to get help for yourself. If you're a person who is in denial about your truth, or you engage in something that the consequences of your actions show you the opposite of what it is you truly believe, you're hurting yourself. Hurting your reputation, waging war against your very own self. And you could tell yourself that everybody and their grandma are trying to hurt you, that you need to do everything in the preventative measures that you have within your back pocket to protect yourself, but at the end of the day, what it is you're aiming for ultimately hurts you. You are your gross enemy. You are the terrorist you are running from. You are the monster underneath your bed. You are. And the people that you convince yourself are the ones that are meant to hurt you are the ones who need to protect themselves from you and your actions. That's exactly what Israel needs to know, understand, believe, and absorb. It will save their lives many times over if they come around to understanding that with the things that they've been engaging in don't equate to what it is that they ultimately hope to receive. It doesn't turn into what you think it does. The behavior that you are engaging in, through wisdom of watching others engage in this behavior over time, has proven what comes of the energy that you engage in. It shows us what happened to people like that. It ain't what you think. It's not what you're telling yourself. It ain't what you're trying to convince all of us. And the wise understands this. Those in denial will ignore that wisdom and run head first into the wall that others have run into before them. Your compliance to that truth is not required. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.